Folks, welcome back to So Bad It's Good, presented by Betches Media. Today, we have two guys. They're the reason I'm here. They're the reason if you enjoy any Bravo podcast out there, they're the reason they are there. They are the gold standard. There will be books written about these guys one day. Wow. I was seeing The Dead and Company at the Sphere a couple weeks ago, and I was in a whole nother world. And I was thinking, because I think about Bravo all the time, I was like, the Grateful Dead is kind of like Watch What Crappens. People go follow them around town to town. They listen to them every day. It's like Jerry Garcia and Bob Weir. They're counterculture. They make you laugh. They actually give you a little hope in the world like they do me. One of my greatest honors was being able to present at their Golden Crappie Awards. They cover every show, not just Bravo, House of Dragon, Love Island USA, everything. And also, Ben Mandelker is a insanely good chef. I tell you to go subscribe to his Substack, nbdfancy.substack.com. We have the one and only Watch What Crappens, Ben Mandelker and Ronnie Karam with us today.
Hi.
Oh, hi, Ryan.
I only come for the intro. Jesus.
I know you always give us the best intro. I feel so cool. I feel like we ourselves are about to perform at the Las Vegas Sphere after you say things like that. It's like, welcome to the Crappens.
We are kind of like the Grateful Dead at this point, just kind of standing up there, just mumbling our mouths slightly and not moving any other part of our body. Just like kind of getting a Tamara impersonation out there.
The VH1 behind the podcast. The VH1 behind the podcast of like, it was dark days in the early aughts for Watch What Crappens. Ronnie was barely holding on.
Touch of gay, yeah.
That could be any year.
How are you
guys?
That
was my one and only Grateful Dead reference that I can make, everyone. There we go.
Yeah, I'm sure
Casey
everybody's
Jones. Something with Casey Jones.
Really disappointed. Listen, you guys have agreed to come on to talk an hour of politics, so I really am grateful for you guys.
So glad we finally get this opportunity to do this.
To get the big things out of the way, when is the next tour starting up? Are we getting September, October, November?
It looks like we don't know. We just got
it's
an
coming
email
very
about
soon.
It,
Yeah, we literally just got an email this morning, and so it looks like we're like getting very close to a fall tour, but we have no idea when in the fall it's going to start.
Okay, so we'll be able to find out that really soon. But in terms of podcasting itself, you guys have been doing this for 12 years, and I was noticing something recently that started gripping hold like 2 years ago, but now it's like every TV show known to man is doing a rewatch podcast, not Bravo, but every TV show. What do you guys think about this? Like, I used to think the way to break into podcasting was just buy a mic, but now I think it's you have to have a show in the 90s or the aughts, and then 20 years later, you'll be able to do a rewatch podcast of that.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you have to go back in time. You really have to plant those seeds early these days. Like if you want a podcast, first you have to get a TV show, okay?
Yeah.
Then you have to wait for it to get canceled, and then you have to, age, and then have kids and do all that stuff, move to the Val, and then you can get a podcast. And then they'll finally see you at fucking iHeart,
Yeah, my fingers are crossed that my pitch for me and Dinah Manoff to do an Empty Nest rewatch will be accepted by a network. Still waiting on that. This will be my first non-Ronnie effort. I hope he's not upset that I'm going to branch out.
Waiting for a Joe and Tootie Facts of Life to come out. I think that
Empty Nest. I used to watch that on Saturday nights. It was like Richard Mulligan or something like that. Oh, it was the best.
Oh yeah, Park Oval. Come on.
It's been crazy in terms of TV watching, and I don't know how you guys do it. I barely can hang on myself. Like, what is your habits during the week now? And do you save any shows just for yourself that you refuse to talk about?
Well, Ben, we do talk about Love Island. That's Ben's favorite. And Ben's like, we're going to keep this light. I don't want to take notes on my baby, because that's like when you start taking notes, it kind of changes the whole vibe of it. And I don't really save anything. I watch a lot more than I would normally. Like I wouldn't keep up with all these shows probably without it, but I watch really dark murder, twisty, turny, or sci-fi shows. I like that. I kind of get out of the world that we're living in when I watch TV.
Yeah, I am someone who turns to TV for escapism, and my version of escapism is usually something that's light and frothy and funny. So I don't really gravitate towards a lot of dramas or cable comedies, which are basically dramas. Hello, hashtag the bear. I'm still so angry, but I do watch, as Ronnie said, like I've been a Love Island fan for several years now. I've been really excited that it's broken through to US audiences. But like as Ronnie said, I was like, I am down. I love that we've been talking about it on the podcast, but I was like, I'm not going to do proper notes on it. I'm only going to write down things that are really funny because I don't want Love Island to turn into proper work for me because that will kill it. Not to say that the shows that we recap, like I'm like rolling my eyes at, but you have to approach it in a certain way, and it's also so much content, and just to be able to sit and watch it and enjoy it, and then just gab with your bestie on the podcast afterwards is like just really so effortless and nice. And then outside of Love Island, Survivor. I haven't started watching Big Brother this season yet, but now that Love Island USA is over, I'm going to dip my toes into Big Brother. But I heard it's already crazy in there. And other than that, though, I play a lot of board games, and that really takes up a lot of my TV time. It's like the nerdiest corner of my being is how I spend so much time playing board games about farming and like sending ships through the Mediterranean or going to outer space. So that's really my version of TV these days.
But I like that Love Island USA is just vibes for you. Like I can't take direct notes on it because it would ruin the vibes of the whole thing. Ronnie, as a Love Island USA fan that's coming to it, what did you think of this season? Because Ben already was in love with the format. Were you infuriated by the daily pace?
It took me a minute for sure because I felt like it took me a minute. First of all, it's straight people pretending they're in love, which I've done before. I used to recap The Bachelor for years and years. I recapped that for 4 years, but it felt like years because it's on 3 times a year, So I was like, oh, my daughter's in college. Like that's how I felt. But, it's like straight people dating, which I don't really get, but I do know a lot of straight people who date. I mean, I'm friends with girls. Like I've listened to girlfriends drama for years, and it just doesn't seem real to me because their stories aren't matching up with what I'm seeing on Animal Planet, which is what I call Love Island. It's like Animal Planet for straight people. So I know that they're kind of faking it, but then I start getting brainwashed because it's just on so long. You know what I mean? It's like if you're in a library long enough, you're going to at least pick up a magazine, like an old People magazine with John Denver on like something. You're going to pick up something because you're there. And I feel like that's kind of what Love Island did to me. And then by the end, I was kind of crying. And the cynical part of me was like, this is not real. This is all fake. These people are just all doing this for Instagram followers and shit. But I didn't care. Like I was still crying. And when you can really trick a cynical old queen, I think that you've won. So I would like to congratulate that show because
I mean, they make you kind of, I mean, I got to say, I really got swept away in the love story by the end. Ben, do you think the right couple won, Serena and Cordell?
Yes, 100%. They were the right couple. I have loved them for a very long time. I developed a surprising adoration for Aaliyah and Miguel, and I was very happy that they came in second place because I really, really enjoy them. I just don't think they're as strong of a couple as Cordell and Serena. I feel like Serena and Cordell seem to vibe on a deeper level. But the Miguel and Lee are just like fun together. But that being said, I mean, who knows if any of these couples are going to survive on the outside world? Because what they don't know about each other is what are they like when they drink? What are they like? What are the text quality? Like, do they text back quickly or slowly? Are they good with communication in the outside world? How do they watch TV? What are they like? How do they act at a restaurant? Like,
what are their friends things. Like? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What are their like? Does their mom hate your ass? And like, what are they going to be like famous? Because everybody comes out of there with 1 million followers now. So what are you going to do now that there's like 20 people in their DMs? You could barely handle it when there were 2 people to compete with. Now you've got like hundreds of thousands of bowling alley people coming.
I was talking to Bergie from season 5 and from the Traders yesterday, and he said that's the real test is you come off that island and your DMs are flooded, and it's this kind of real-time test of like how many people are trying to get at you or even flirt with you online. And he says that's a real challenge. But it is interesting in terms of like even Kayla and Aaron, they already have like so many things stacked against them. Like Kayla's parents already dislike Aaron, and rightfully so.
And their personalities, they're that's stacked against them. Bad personalities.
Fuck, Ben. Fuck.
They have so much stacked against them. Like, you know what is actually truly stacked against them is how deeply unlikable they are. So that's an uphill battle. That's an uphill battle.
Who, Aaron and Kayla?
Yes.
specifically.
You don't understand. It's context. It's context. You don't understand, Kayla.
I did what I wanted.
Everyone does it differently. Everyone thinks things differently. You can't get mad at me because I think of things differently than you.
Oh my god, I can't wait to like meet your mom and like we can get like coffee, we get like ice cream afterwards, and we go to the movies, and then like afterwards we can call up Rob and be like, "Hey Rob, what's going on? It'll be so much fun! I can't wait."
You can't really argue with someone who kind of cheats on you and then goes, "Well, I just thought of it differently." So
yeah, because you don't understand. It's movie night. The other, like, I talked to Serena and Cordell yesterday, and I gotta say, like, it really warmed my heart because they were like all over each other, not like in a pervy way, but like in this really sweet way where they were just like constantly like rubbing each other's backs and stuff. And I asked Serena, I was like, "Do you want to do more reality TV?" She's like, "No, not at all. Like, I got what I wanted. I don't want to be a part of any of, like," it was the most real answer where I was like, God, that answer makes me think that you guys might last a little bit of time as opposed to normal reality shows.
You know, sometimes all you want to do is arrange ad campaigns for children programming. You know, then that's what Serena does, right?
Yeah.
She came, she saw, she conquered. Now it's back to, you know, booking HelloFresh for Teletubbies.
That's what we would all be lucky to do. Rob, I always thought Rob was such an interesting character because he was like a dim-witted James Dean or like a son of Jax Taylor. Like, this guy, you couldn't tell what was going on in his mind the entirety of the season.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Nothing. There was nothing. All right, that was like a TV from the 80s. You need to like kind of pat on the head a little bit to make it work.
He was like that movie Wet Hot American Summer with Paul Rudd, where he like has to go turn in his tray and he's like, Yeah. That was like Rob was just like bummed to be there the entire time. And now he's going to be a star. He's like, to me, he's even more of a dim-witted Jax Taylor.
Yeah, he hasn't gone to the depths of hell that Jax Taylor has yet, you know, but he hasn't really had time to marinate that much. But yeah, my favorite thing about him is that he did look so depressed to be there, which I think is the secret to everything. I feel like people like that always succeed. Just hot people who are better than you and they know it and they just don't even want to be there. You know what I mean? Like, if you work at a Home Goods, they're going to be the top of the Home Goods chain. If you are in the government, they're going to run for president. You know, those people always fucking win in life. Just don't care, people. That's my advice to you. Don't care.
I mean, people forget that even halfway through the season, he literally had a conversation with a girl where he was like, "I haven't nutted in so long. I need to nut." Like, he was literally like, "I haven't been able," and I was like, damn, dude. Like, I was just throwing it out there. And the girl was like, "Yeah, I'll play with spiders. Cool."
Yeah, I'm still waiting to find Andrea's reaction to Rob having sex with Cassie on the show after Rob was allegedly fully in love with Andrea.
I know. Well, we got the reunion August 19th, which is going to be hosted by Ariana Madix, who killed it this summer. And you guys are friends with Ariana. You just went to something about her. What did you guys think of the sandwiches?
They were good. I was surprised. I mean, I had heard the sandwiches were pretty good, but I thought that like, I wasn't sure really if it was going to be good or not. The Infatuation gave the place a scathing review, and like after having gone there, I don't think that the place deserves a scathing review at all. I thought a lot of them were super tasty. The one thing is I can't really tell you which sandwich is which, and people are like, "Which is your favorite?" And I don't have one where I felt one was significantly better than the other, but I can tell you that I enjoyed all of them. And if I lived in that neighborhood, that would totally be a local sandwich spot for me.
Yeah, I thought it was great. One of the things that I'd heard that was bad about it, one of the things that people were bitching about, they were showing pictures and showing these anemic little sandwiches and like really soggy like sandwich bread from the grocery store. And I was like, oh no, this place is dead. You know, there's no way this place is going to last. But by the time we went there, I mean, it's been open for months, right? So, at least 2 months. It feels like years. I mean, it's Vanderpump Rules time, you know, they're all 90 now. So I went in and it's been months, but their bread was great. The sandwiches were huge. All the bread was different on all the things we had, at least. And it was all big, good, chewy bread. It was not stale. I mean, it was good. I liked it.
Yeah,
they give us giant
how do you not
slices.
like sandwiches? Like,
sandwiches were huge.
I would say maybe a little more spice and some, maybe more salt. That's literally all I could
Well, you
Say,
sound like Lisa Vanderpump right now, Ronnie. Like a little pinch of salt.
little salt. Here's what I would say. Don't hurt Penny, please. Poor Penny. Penny, who was promised a vice presidency from doing this sandwich shop. Please don't screw over Penny.
Well, I mean, what do you guys think about the darkness of Vanderpump Rules in terms of like the Chef Penny lawsuit, Tom Sandoval not understanding how lawyers work, allegedly, like deactivating all of that stuff? Like Tom just can't make a right move to save his life. Even when he tries to get helped out, he completely destroys any goodwill. What is your guys' take on that? Because I know it's not the show, but we have this show behind the show behind the show right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, Vanderpump Rules and Bravo in general has always been a hotbed for this kind of stuff. And Chef Penny, you know, it felt too good to be true with her. She lasted many years on Vanderpump Rules without getting into a kerfuffle. And as we know, Ronnie and I, as devotees formerly of Food Network star, we saw Penny in her first incarnation, which was as the villain of Food Network star season whatever it was, when her culinary point of view was to be the sexy chef. And she drove everyone nuts on that show. And when she showed up on Vanderpump Rules, I think we both were like, oh, this is going to be some drama, but it never happened. And now it finally has happened. So we knew all along, like we had done our research. It seems like no one else had done their research and never said, let me look at the TV show that Penny was on. And so now they have this.
She's always sucked. She sucked on that show. She was an asshole on that. And her thing is like, yes, I'm so sexy. I'm the sexy chef. They'd be like, okay, today you're doing your own version of tuna salad. She's like, this is sexy tuna. And they're like, that's a little awkward to sell it that way to us. You know, it's tuna. And she's like, well, whatever. It's that. What the fuck are you talking about? Sexy. Like she would get really nasty. And like, she was the villain of that show. I mean, she was
no wonder Lisa loved
Disney
her.
Villain. Well,
Lisa loves sexy food. Like
Lisa loves sexy
the
food.
sexiest restaurant in Tahoe.
Lisa would have given her own restaurant if the girl just wrapped some shit in iron, you know, like sexy with iron things. But also, I think that Penny knew her place with Lisa Vanderpump. She knows that Lisa's a big reality star and she's going to ride that wave and take the check. When it came to these girls, I think she thought she was going to come take over this restaurant, make all this money, and then be on the show, like be the new Lisa Vanderpump. Because you remember when they showed that episode where I think it was like their 5th tasting that they had on the show, because you know how they kept having tastings. So they were having a tasting, and then Penny kept coming out and literally like standing in front of them and being like, "Oh no, I'll announce the sandwich. I'm the sexy chef, Penny, from the Food Network." And she kind of tried to take over, and Katie's just behind her, like, you know, like Katie's not going to have that
Katie,
shit.
yeah.
And, well, also, you knew it was never going to work out because in this current culture of like celebrity chefdom, you have Penny designing these sandwiches, and you have Katie and Ariana who are like the face of this restaurant, and you know they're going to get all the attention, and Penny's not really going to get the attention. And you knew that was just never going to sit well with her, especially given that she was the villain formerly on Food Network. So it was like a recipe for disaster, and especially since she was sort of this deputy from the Vanderpump restaurant empire, quote unquote empire. So it was set up for friction from the beginning. And I just think that Katie and Ariana, you know, they probably should have said thanks, but no thanks to Kenny's services initially. But it's hard when Lisa Vanderpump is helping you get the restaurant space and helping you with lease and this and that.
Do you think that Lisa set them up with Penny because she knew eventually it would crumble and that could be a storyline eventually?
No. I think that if Penny had ever acted like that around Lisa Vanderpump, she wouldn't still be around. Lisa's not going to take that shit. Lisa's not going to have someone coming in and standing in front of her and trying to take the spotlight away from her.
From Katie and Ariana, not from Lisa.
Right. But I think that Lisa probably only knew this side of Penny, the kiss ass who's like taking all the money to make very simple food. You know what I mean? I think that my theory is that she switched it up when she got to the girls and tried to take over. She never would have done that with Vanderpump, but I think she saw these two weaklings who really weren't there that much. I mean, let's face it. Ariana's busy. She's booked and busy. I mean, how often is Katie at the sandwich? I don't know. I'm just saying. But Vanderpump found the restaurant, then it took forever to open, and they were paying this person to kind of run it. I think she just felt like, this is my domain now. I'm taking this is finally my shot. I mean, Penny's been around a long time trying to become a celebrity chef, and it just doesn't work. It's never really worked. And I think she thought, here we are. I'm going to spin off Vanderpump Rules with this Something About Her show. And it failed miserably. And now what is she going to sue them for? Like, I trademarked the mayonnaise you use on that caprese.
I just think it's such a bummer, though. It's like Ariana gets to these great heights, and then you have to spend money out to like lawyers for kind of like some like just frivolous.
That's what
BS.
Great Heights is all about. That's have you ever seen anyone reach great heights and not have to spend money on lawyers to fend off all sorts of lawsuits? It's sort of like, Karen Huger, you gotta make $1 million to owe $1 million. Well, guess what? You have to you have to fend off lawsuits to be famous. It's not a one-to-one analogy. But the point is this, unfortunately, especially in the public eye, like the higher you rise, the more people are ready to take a pot shot at you, because they're like, well, they have the money, I might as well, take my shot.
Are you guys pathetic like me, where you sit around and think about the Vanderpump Rules and the overall health and where we go from here? Because I've spent like most of like the last 2 months thinking like, oh, it'll definitely come back. Oh, Tom, he's like calming down and all. And this kind of just riles things up again, where I don't know, like, I think Ariana deserves that paycheck, but at the same time, why would you legitimately in any sort of real world hang around this person? But then we have housewife shows where they're not all core friends anyways.
I don't think I can't see a world where Ariana's coming back. I mean, I can see a world, but like, I think Love Island she's the host of the #1 show on all television right now. And like, I think to go back to a show where you're just kind of like living in your home and slinking around, going to like coffee shops and talking with your friends, getting into fights, it may just feel like a downgrade. Like, I don't know. I don't see her going back, but I think the show will definitely come back. It's Emmy nominated for 2 years in a row. Bravo is grasping for prestige wherever it can get it. So I think it's going to come back.
I think she's going to come back. She's going to take that check. I think one thing that I've always really liked about her is that she's not full of shit. I mean, most of the people on those shows are really full of shit. We know a lot of them. They're all crazy. They're all full of themselves. She's not really. She seems like shocked that any of this is even happening. And I mean, before any of this, I haven't seen her before. I haven't seen her since she kind of blew up into all of this. But before that, I just always thought she was so funny because she's like, this is ridiculous, Yeah. And I told her, I said, I like you because it's like we both seem to know this is all stupid. She laughed. She's like, it is really stupid. And I think that she knows that, and she's going to take the money while it's there. She doesn't care. I mean, what does she have to do on Vanderpump Rules? Literally just walk around and it doesn't seem like you have to do that much, really.
And she gets to explain fun things like gray rocking, and like she actually seems like she has a mind about herself where she explains like what we're seeing on television. And then Brock's like, nah, this is how women think, like it's so bizarre.
Yeah.
Sorry, is a little.
But you know what? Though? It's also like you're on top of the world. Okay, you're hosting the #1 TV show. You're also on Broadway, going back to Broadway. You've just played super high in Dance with the Stars. You're still like killing it a year later, and then you've got to go back to a show where you have to deal with not only your ex, but a guy who accidentally tried to sue you. You have to deal with probably jealous people like Lala who are going to just try to take you down, who said really nasty things. It's like, yes, there's a paycheck there, but at a certain point, like, there's also happiness to be had about like not putting yourself into that toxic environment. And like, I don't know. I can see her saying it was
Ronnie
fun,
just
but
shrugged
like,
I mean, it's
no.
Vanderpump Rules. It's always been a toxic environment. She'll be back. She will be back. And also, she's going to come back because now she's got bargaining. She's got a bargaining chip. They're holding shooting for her. She's a huge star now. She's not going to come back for $5. I'll tell you that. She's going to come back. She's going to make that money. She's going to pay off that house in the hills she bought. And the show's going to, and as far as worrying about where the show's going, one of the best things about watching people in LA, living here a long time and aging here, is watching people age and watching how age specifically affects people in Los Angeles in the quote unquote business. I'm sorry, they're pouring sulfur in my bathroom and I'm going to choke to death.
Did you kill somebody in your bathroom last night? What are they?
They're I'm remodeling a bathroom and they're pouring. They're doing the hot mop thing where they pour sulfur, whatever the fuck. It's like satanic in here while we're talking about Vanderpump. It smells like Satan.
Is that safe for you to be in right now?
Probably not. So, but that's what I'm saying. I'm in a toxic environment and I'm used to it, just like the cast of Vanderpump Rules. So it's interesting to watch people age and specifically deal with age. And for years, people have been saying we need to make this show younger. We've got to figure out how to bring the next generation in. Are we going to do it through the restaurants, or how are we going to do this? Well, you just wait for men to age in LA, because what do? They date children. So now we've got a whole cast of children that these guys are dating. And they're going to come in and be the new generation. So you're going to have Katie and Ariana and those girls and Lala and Sheena fighting with literal 22-year-olds from Instagram. And it's going to be amazing. I cannot wait.
Well, see, this is what I love about you guys. You guys make me think about these shows in different ways. Sorry, Ben, I interrupted you.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, I think the show does need to bring in some younger people in the restaurants, only because now that we've got the Valley, then Vanderpump Rules exists as this like alternate version of the Valley, where everyone is in the Valley and is the same age and is friends with everyone in the Valley, but they're not the Valley, but they're also not working the restaurants. And Vanderpump herself is not ruling over anything on this show, so they kind of have to like figure out what the show is about. I mean, we know what it's about. It's about this group of friends, but like, I think it still would be beneficial to bring in some new blood. I mean, I really enjoyed last season. A lot of people thought it was boring. I thought it was great. And so I don't think the show has, I think the show is in a great place, but they probably should start thinking about bringing in some fresh blood. And, you know, I think probably in the future, if Bravo were to do another restaurant type show, they should probably try to do like a below deck treatment where you get a few holdovers every season, but like the cast is constantly rotating. So that way we don't have situations where people age out of it or it gets stale. It's always going to be like workplace focused.
Yeah. Well, King Todd is as spry as he's ever been. That man is a youth eternal.
He really is.
Kid will be there. What did you guys think about the Valley?
Vanderpump Rules and just have it about all the cast kind of taking care of them in their older years, you know?
I can't believe Ronnie just made an age joke about me. I can't believe
Vanderpump Rules, that's what I've called it from the start, darling. How could you do that? I'll knock your spark out.
Oh my God, the James Kinney. I'll knock your spark clean out. No, kid, no. What did you guys think of the Valley? What did you guys think of the Valley this season? I loved it. I thought it was a great addition, right?
Surprise show of the year. It was so good. It was actually an excellent show. It was so funny. The people on it were so wretched and so vile and so entertaining. And every episode just was like crazier than the next. And they were all dealing with real misery. And the thing that is still shocking to me is that Bravo never did a reunion for it. And if like there was any show that needed a reunion this year, it was that one. Like there were so many unanswered questions.
Well, I thought they were doing that. Sorry, Ronnie, what?
No. Go ahead.
No, I thought they weren't doing the reunion because they thought like, oh, we'll just go rush into filming. We're worried about these relationships breaking even further. But then I talked to a couple of the cast members and they said, no, we want a reunion as well. It would actually like kind of cause everybody to come back together. So I just thought it was so wild that they didn't do that reunion. Like it was like an easy layup.
Wild.
Bravo has a very delayed reaction to what's happening on their shows. They've always been like this. They don't understand when it's time to change a show. They will let a show. Real Housewives of Atlanta. It's been years since they've needed to change that cast. Real Housewives of New York. It's been a long time since they've needed to make changes on some of their biggest shows. Real Housewives of Potomac. The year before it tanked, we were like, change it. It's time to change. You can't have shows where people don't talk to each other. Like there are just certain times where the audience knows it's time for a change, and Bravo just doesn't know. I don't know if they're not reading the boards. Like get on Reddit. I mean, for Christ's sake. Anyway, they don't know, and I think that they don't really know that they have a success on their hands for a while either. I mean, the Valley. I'm sure that they see that it's a success, but I don't think anybody really expected it to be. I think it's kind of a shock. I mean, it's not only because of Jax or whatever, even though Jax was great TV. It's just generally aging people in the Valley. Like that goes against everything we learn here in this town and around here. Nobody wants to see that shit, especially having babies, living in a farmhouse. Like nobody wants to see this shit. Okay.
Well, and Jesse and Michelle Lally, whose relationship was literally like Michelle seemed like she hated Jesse, and then Jesse goes and does ayahuasca and says he's completely changed. And she was like, oh no, like she's like, oh God. And like you knew that relationship was done. And it was amazing TV to agree to go on a show when you know your relationship is completely done. And I kind of think that Jax fully signed up on this just to ruin his relationship.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't think we've ever seen a reality show where two couples broke up over the course of it, like had divorces. Like we've seen single couple divorce, but a dual divorce storyline on a TV show, that's like wild. I mean, that just really speaks to how much craziness was going on. It was a perfect balance between like heavy misery, aka divorces, and alcoholism and issues about babies and having babies and love and no love. And then there was also great like petty misery, like Kristen not getting invited to Big Bear. Like that's great. That's great.
And Zach,
like,
Zach torturing Janet, like with an Instagram story.
Yeah, Janet feeling like Zach was going to show up with a chainsaw in the middle of the night in Big Bear and murder her. Like that's just, I mean, what a great blend.
Yeah, Zach trying to murder her baby in her eyes. I mean, that was pretty good.
Janet's a great character. Janet studied under the tutelage of Sheena, and now she's there. So I'm so curious to see what she does season 2, if she leans fully into a villain role or if she evens out. What did you guys think of her?
She's going to try to even out because she's the most online. You know, she's always reading comments. The big accusation against her is that she's got tons of fake accounts and stuff like that she goes and comments under to try and change the narrative about herself. I mean, that's what they've said from the show. That news comes from the show, or gossip comes from the show. But she's going to try and change it and try and course correct, but you can't. And that's the thing about reality TV. You're yourself. Like, you're not going to be able to correct that, and it's going to be hilarious. Also, I think this show is really showing us the importance of how necessary it is to have people like Kristen and Jax, because they're kind of monsters and they're wild cards. They're liars. There's like constant lies and stuff going on with them, but they are masters. They know how to make it work. They're narcissists to the point of not really giving a shit what they do to other people. They just want to have a good TV show, and it's really working out for us. And I thank them. I think there should be a special award for people like that.
I mean, you guys can give one out to the Golden Crappies this year. I mean, you should do an honoring, like you know how the Oscars give out like a award to like people like for their whole career. You should do that for Kristen and Jax. Career. And you could have like the Drive poster in the background. I mean, but Jax completely shits on her every chance he gets, and then they'll keep saying that they're each other's like best friends, brothers and sisters. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, and the fact that like Jax, it's amazing how Jax will start a rumor and then tell it to Kristen, and then she always goes and tells everyone about the rumor, and then it comes back and everyone says, wow, Kristen, you like Kristen's starting rumors, she's starting lies, and it's always Jax who started it. And then Jax just piles on and goes, you can't trust Kristen, she lies. I'm like, you're the one who started it, Jax. It's always Jax.
He always starts it with, you know, I love Kristen so much, I love her so much, but God, a baby, is she an alcoholic? I mean, should she be having a baby? Is the baby on cocaine? Like, is it? I mean, I don't know, I don't want to say that because I love Kristen. Yeah, I really do.
No, it's not my business. It's not my business at all. But
I don't really know, you know. Oh God, Brittany. God, I love Brittany so much. God, you know, just the drinking though. The drinking. I mean, in the morning, you know, Brittany always needs breakfast, and it's usually booze. I mean, God, I love her. Did I say that out loud? God, I would never say that. God, alcoholic. Jesus, get to a hospital. God, I love her.
What do you guys think of Luke? Somebody needs to study Luke, because this man was literally without power a year ago at his like a year and a half ago in his Colorado place, and now he's part of a reality show trying to like become friends with Jax and Sandoval and all of these people. I feel like that guy needs to be studied, because that's going to be one of the most interesting like stories to follow.
There is actually a museum dedicated to him in Amsterdam, the Van Gogh Museum. You see tons of portraits of Luke in there. Because I have a theory that he is the modern reincarnation of Van Gogh without the
talent. Guys started that, didn't you? Yes, you guys started that, because when I went we were both in Amsterdam.
A listener sent it to us. Yeah.
I went to the Van Gogh Museum a couple months ago, and I was posting those things, and I got flooded with DMs saying, that's Luke, that's Luke, that's Luke, that's you guys. And then when I had Luke on, I asked him about that, and he kind of laughed. But you're right, he looks exactly like Van Gogh, but he has 2 ears.
Yeah, and can't paint. And so I think that like he is, I don't know, Luke is an interesting one, you know. He's not terribly interesting, and I don't understand why he's in love with Kristen, especially because he has this idea of going back to Colorado and living this mountain man lifestyle of being in his house and chopping wood. But I'm like, you're trying to have a baby with Kristen, who wants to do sound baths in Los Angeles and live by highways. Like, I don't understand where
he knows what he's doing. Listen, Vanderpump Rules has always been very popular for getting people who will date whoever to be on this show, both men and women. It's happened with the casts on this show, and I think this is no different. You've got this guy who banged Kristen behind a tent at a wedding. I mean, please, like, he didn't know what he was getting into. And then even if she didn't have a TV show, then you know that nothing can contain that crazy but a TV show at some point, or he's at least going to be in that world. Then you've got Janet, who came from, she's like an all about Sheena type, who came from being Sheena's assistant, right? Wasn't that her backstory, that she was like,
no, it was just Sheena's friend. Like she came up to Sheena at a pool party and said, I watched your show. And then classic Sheena like totally wanted to be her friend. And then that's how they like took off as friends. Janet's from like Ohio.
Oh, I thought she was her assistant. Vanderpump. Look at me. I'm like,
yeah, look it up.
Where'd she come? Apparently, I think Janet from the Valley stalked Sheena and used her to get close to the VPR cast. So she wasn't. This is from Reddit. This is
of course it is. Yeah, great.
That's like Sheena's favorite thing. She's like, oh my God, I'm like so honored that you want to use me to stalk and use me to get closer to fame. Like, it is such an honor to be that bridge. I'm just like such a people pleaser.
Oh my God, you guys, when you had Sheena at the Golden Crappies and it was like backstage, it was so funny. She was classic Sheena. She was like, oh my God, I'm finally getting honored. Oh my God. Like she was like loving it. And also at the same time, why haven't I been honored up to this point?
Yes.
Like it was so flippin' funny.
She was also like so much more savvy than I expected. Like she understood the gag and she understood like the assignment, as they say, and she was like ready to do what it took to put on like a good experience for the audience. Like we didn't have to like coddle her too much. We didn't have to do anything. She was ready. She brought a sweatshirt. She had like ideas like, well, I was like, yeah, I can like wear the sweatshirt and I can take it off. I can be wearing, because this is like my good as gold outfit. So it's like good as gold and like it's the Golden Crappies. I was like, wow, like Sheena was like, she really was like waiting for this moment, and she showed up. She was a professional.
She's a pro, and she was also really cool. She was really nice to everybody who was there. Like she stayed, because you've done it a million times, Ryan. So but like sometimes people come, they do their 5 minutes, and they get the hell out, and we don't blame them for that. Come do your thing and go. It's a long, raucous night, especially if you don't know what's going on. It's like, what the hell is this? But she stayed, she chilled, she had a really good time with everybody, got to know everybody. I thought that was really nice. I was so glad that she came.
She was awesome. The other show you guys made me change my mind about a little bit and how I was thinking about it. I heard you guys on Jeff Lewis last week, and you were talking about Jersey. And you guys were like, listen, you said, I love it. I love it right now. Like, it's great. This is classic Housewives. For me, I kind of think like you were talking about Potomac earlier about people not being able to be in scenes with each other. Why do you guys love Jersey again? Because for me, I see little bits and flashes of greatness, but overall, I feel like it's so disjointed and a weird viewing experience. What do you guys think?
Because I laugh. Like, it's just simple for me. I laugh. I think it's hilarious. And I think most of them can really handle themselves outside of scenes with each other. Most of those shows require the ensemble, and this one doesn't really. Like, they're still funny in their own scenes. I think the casting of Danielle was really funny. She's a nutcase, and she's like the Staten Island girl who will start a fight and dresses crazy, tapes together clothes and tries to sell them. Like, she's so delusional. She's really good. I mean, I don't know what it is, but I'm laughing, and that's really all I require. So if I still laugh, then you get my thumbs up.
Yeah, I think that like what is really strong about New Jersey versus Potomac is that it's not like, I think the stakes are clear in New Jersey. Melissa and Teresa hate each other and they don't want to be around each other. And the reason for their hatred goes back years and years and years. It has to do with family shit, has to do with their husbands, has to do with the TV show, has to do with jealousy, has to do with envy, both the boutique and the emotion. And like, that makes sense to us. We understand it. And then you have this whole ensemble that is like, okay, cool. Well, we'll still do our show. And if there's certain events, Melissa will be at, some that Teresa will be at. But it's not like Teresa is icing out people for being with Melissa and vice versa. Whereas on Potomac, you had like Robin and Candace having this massive feud, but it didn't make sense. Like, why is your friendship over? You guys were friends last season, and like, oh, it's something because of the way Robin reacted at the reunion. Like, none of that made sense. You had people actively trying to ice other people out, not inviting people to things, and so it was this weird hodgepodge. You felt like no one was giving themselves over to the show the way they do in New Jersey, and so as a result, you're watching this season go along, and you're watching 10 minutes of them canoeing in a lake on vacation with like silly graphics because they don't know what else to do, and having like 10 million episodes where they're sitting with easels, painting vaginas. And so like there was nothing really happening on Potomac, whereas here on Jersey, stuff is happening.
Well, the things that they're arguing about on Potomac are really deep. You know what I mean? There's racism allegations, colorism allegations, abuse allegations. I mean, the things that they're hurling at each other. And I'm not saying they're petty. You know, I'm not saying they're not real. I'm just saying they're a lot deeper than like, I don't like my sister-in-law. You know what I mean? And they require a lot more thought than I think you can give on a housewife show. Like when it comes to those conversations, they've tried having them at the past couple reunions, and it's like, well, we're all sitting around in our ball gowns, you know, like accusing each other of all of this really. And Andy's just sitting there like, okay, well, let's have the conversation. But it's like, it's an awkward conversation, and it's a rough conversation, and it's a very real conversation that needs to be had, I guess. But it's also a housewives show, and I think it's really hard to balance that. And it's definitely hard to have fun while you have these huge conversations looming. And he actually, I say Andy, but obviously the network and the producers and everybody got so fed up that they were like, here's your option. Guys, you can make up and start over again, or you're all fucking fired. Like, what are you going to do? So they had to come to the reunion and they had to make up. And some of them did, and some of them tried. Candace tried. She really did. She was like, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to just say yes to everything and I'm going to nod. But then at the end, she was like, no, fuck this. Fuck that lady. You know, and I think it's just, they're going to finally make the changes that they should have made, you know, a long time ago. Because, you know, again, Jersey is keeping it fun. That one didn't. Also, Jersey's been a disaster for years. We've been used to Jersey being a disaster. Potomac was the best. It was like the gold standard for years. So when Potomac fell off, it was the first time that show had ever fallen off. It was like, oh my God, what's happened to Potomac? You know, with Jersey, it's like, you know, put some cannoli dough on it and, you know, let it bake for another year. It'll be fine.
But they're not even having a reunion this season, Jersey.
I know, it's wild. But you know, I think it's, you know what, like I'm actually okay with that, because I'm glad that they're not gonna force us to sit through like some strained experience. They're acknowledging that this is a problem, it's a situation, and they're just gonna like tackle it. I kind of like that. I kind of like just like having audience expectations in check. I think that works. And I think with going back to what Ronnie said about like the issues on Potomac are actually they're actually very real and very serious. And I think actually the show would have benefited from some really really tackling those issues head on, you know, not just at the reunion. And there were some conversations about it, but I think that the show really like probably would have benefited from not trying to be silly around these issues and just face them, because that again would have been something to talk about that had resonance with, I think, the audience members, or would have brought insight to people who are watching. And it would have been much more compelling than, again, you know, watching chicken shit bingo, which is what we did for a very long time.
Do you guys look up to Teresa as fellow podcasters?
Completely. Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah,
isn't it wild? You guys have been doing this 12 years. Isn't it wild to see like live podcasts now being a narrative on the show?
It is wild. I mean, I didn't really even think about that, but that is wild. I mean, when we started, no one was really even doing it. I think we were one of the very first podcasts to ever really go on a tour or try to do a big audience venues, not just like a little like club or something. And it was such a strange thing, and a lot of the people that worked in those clubs were so confused why these two gay guys were coming onto this like the stage of, you know, CBGB, or not CBGB.
CBGB. I was like, holy shit! You in the Velvet Underground. This is amazing.
What's a Bowery Ballroom? Like, we go to the Bowery Ballroom. And like, wait, what are these guys doing here? Well, shouldn't there be like a rock band? And now it's like so normal. It's so normal, which I think is excellent. I think it's great. I love. Are you going to be going on tour, Ryan? Are you going to be taking your show on the road?
That's the dream. I just don't think anybody. I don't know. Like, I really am nervous that nobody would show up, but that's the dream someday. I just don't. I really don't know. No, I'm not even joking.
If no one shows up. If 10 people show up, that's fun.
Yeah. I mean, that's the dream, but, you know, I'm not, that is one of my dreams. But I will say, when you guys did the Wiltern a couple of years ago, I've seen so many shows at the Wiltern. You guys outsold like Wilco. Like, Wilco was one of my favorite. I was there. Like, and by the way, that was a rainy night. That was a rainy night. Ben Folds, you guys had more than Ben Folds when I saw him a year ago. And I was like, this is insane like these kind of venues that I have spent the last 20 years in Los Angeles going to, and you guys are bringing these people together. It's so exciting to watch.
Thank you.
We got about like 15 more minutes here, and I wanted to talk about Real Housewives of Orange County, which we're 2 episodes in. What do you guys think so far?
Love it.
So
I mean,
good.
I love a show. I think it's this one. Now, they say dark and toxic. This show's so dark and toxic. Jersey's getting that. This is so dark and toxic. Real Housewives of Orange County is so dark and toxic. I don't know how they keep it this fun. I mean, they're torturing this one. Shannon got a DUI, which is not great. I'm not going to sit up here and be like, oh, who cares? DUI.
No, it's huge.
It was a big deal, and it's horrible. But the woman, it's like she was going through hell. She just got publicly dumped from this guy that she's been talking up for years, on a couple of years on the show. She gets publicly humiliated. Then he goes and starts banging some ex-cast member on the show that they met at her restaurant. I mean, it's just like her hangout, her local hangout. I mean, it's just so mean and so vile. And then to even cast Alexis back on the show just to capitalize on this stuff, which she probably only banged John to get on the show in the first place. I mean, it's just so gross. It's so mean.
She's a Christian, Ronnie. Stop. She's a Christian.
So mean-spirited, and it's just so hilarious. And the fact that the whole cast is like, it's mean, but no one's even acknowledging that it's mean. They're like, but we're friends with Alexis. No, you're not. None of you are friends with Alexis.
Heather Dubrow. I have a very strong relationship with Alexis. I'm like, Heather Dubrow, no, you don't.
Well, I believe that one because they both have trans children. So I think that bonds you in a certain way that one I actually get. But, of course, normally Heather would never hang out with someone like Alexis Foligno. Never. I mean, Alexis is not rich enough and she's a dum-dum. Like Heather would never. But the fact that she's acting like, oh, well, how could you? I've been friends with Heather Dubrow longer than you. It's like, oh, come on. You guys are so mean. And then the whole shitting all over Jen Pedranti after her life just completely fell apart, and they're just like Gina especially just completely kicking her while she's down. I mean, it's so awful to even laugh. I'm only laughing because this cast, I think, is one of the only casts that could get away with it, and it still feels like kind of light humor. Shannon's like, this is my job, and I'm going to show up, and I'm going to deal with whatever these witches throw at me. I don't even care. I'm on Ozempic now, and I'm going to look great.
I love that Gina's activated so much. She's like, I'm not going back into that casita. You are not ruining my career in real estate. Like, I love that her real estate reputation is at risk now because she vouched for a friend. I was like, why would you vouch for a friend this early if you're that worried about it? It's great.
She could have vouched for her because nothing was wrong with Jen at that time. Her husband hadn't lost the job. Her husband, she was able probably to still pay the bills at that time, but also her dad still did co-sign for her. So it's not like she vouched for her too much. So there's something fishy with Gina's story. I think Gina's full of shit anyway.
Ben, what do you think?
I think the season's amazing. I think it's great. I think we're hitting on all fronts. Like, I love a multi-dimensional Housewives season where every storyline is like a good storyline. Could be like there's a solid A storyline with like a solid B and another solid B storyline and maybe a C. A season where if an A storyline is like I'm coming out with a candle, that's gonna be bad. If the A storyline is like I'm doing a renovation in my kitchen, that's going to be bad. If the A storyline is I just got a DUI and now my ex is dating some bimbo from seasons before I was even on the show, that's a good season. And it is being and like honestly, it is multidimensional. You have this DUI situation, which is one thing. You have the Alexis situation. You have Gina and Jen, which is that's such a stupid fight and it's so obnoxious, but it's got me so riled up. And you've got Jen and Ryan. It's really hitting on all cylinders. It feels like every scene has an urgency to it and is compelling to watch. So I'm like totally down.
And Katie, the new lady, I kind of like her family. Like, I mean, like she seems like a kind of the normal person before everything changes, like before Housewives.
I like that she seems like an asshole. She seems like an asshole, and I like that. Like, I love a haughty asshole. And right now, it's Heather's had to do all the heavy lifting, and we've got two kind of like suburban mom vibe people with Emily and Gina, and so we need to balance it out with like haughty assholes. So now we have two haughty assholes, two moms. And then you've got like Shannon and Tamara who are just their own disaster. Like Tamara has whipped up her own storyline. She is mad at Shannon purely to have storyline this season. But you know what? It works. If anyone knows how to do that shit, it's Tamra. That is her bread and butter, is whipping up some stupid reason to be mad at someone just so that way she can be mean to them. Because when Tamra is mean to someone, it is so vile and it makes for great TV.
Oh, I mean, the amount of jokes she like threw out about Shannon drinking, even though it's insane. But I keep talking about this, like Tamra exists. Like she's such a necessary character, but she's somebody that plays the game and she's really good at it. And she'll throw somebody under the bus at a moment's notice. Shannon is living moment to moment. She is actually being herself and she can't get away from that. Whereas Tamra plays this game and she knows it really, really good. And it's two different archetypes that you see in Housewives and it works together. But I just don't understand how Tamra, season after season, people totally fall for her shit.
I think it's fear. I think they're just afraid of her, so they go along with her, thinking that she's going to leave them alone for the year. But Tamra is not like that. She's not loyal to anybody. I cannot believe she's maintained this marriage. Honestly, I mean, Eddie must just be a gross person. Like, if for them to like maintain that kind of friendship and camaraderie, he must be terrible. I mean, some of the things he lined up that even he said is like, oh, the only good thing in Shannon's marriage was David Bador. Like, what? He was abusive. What are you saying on national TV? So the fact, I think she's loyal to other people, like other vultures, like who will like rip apart a carcass together. She'll be loyal to them, but she's not going to be loyal to any friend on that show, and people know it. And so they're trying to get her to be nice to them for the season. That's all they care about, because Tamra will just make things up. She will stretch things and just ruin your life for fun, and then be like, then turn it around at the reunion and go, I just don't understand why do you treat me like this? And then it's all her. She's a victim. She doesn't.
Tamra wanted Shannon to apologize to her this past week. I was like, Tamra was gaslighting Shannon, and I was like, this is. And the thing is, it totally works. Like Shannon will end up apologizing to Tamra at some point this season, and Tamra will not accept it. Also, I love to see Tamra and Eddie on their Harleys. I loved it, like their weekend Harleys. It's so
showing
hysterical.
Up, getting like a Reuben at some shack on the side of the road.
Hey, what's your specialty here? What's your specialty here?
I know, like they're walking into a Michelin star restaurant. The other thing is, Tamra is the perfect foil for people like Shannon and Heather, because Shannon and Heather take themselves very, very seriously. And the moment someone takes themselves very seriously, that is where Tamra comes in and just creates chaos. She creates lies, or she says half truths, or she spreads rumors that rattle these people, and they can't believe it, and they're outraged, positively outraged that someone could say this, and then people could listen to Tamra, and then Tamra just gets away with it, and then she has willing accomplices, and someone like Emily just loves to stir the pot. Like Emily, I feel like has earned a spot on this show as sort of like a less charismatic pot stirrer. And she sort of works well with Tamra in that way. And then you got someone like Gina who just falls for all the lies that come her way. Like, oh my God, I can't believe she would say that. And it makes for like a great recipe.
I love it. It's firing on all cylinders. And this week we have Sutton Strack making an appearance from Beverly Hills, which is huge. And then last night, Sutton, they're filming Beverly Hills. They did a fashion show at Sutton Concepts, and everybody was out. Kathy Hilton was like standing up while the models were walking down the
on
stage.
The runway.
I mean, that's great. But Lala was there with her pregnant belly out, because I don't know if you guys heard Lala's pregnant.
I didn't know.
I'm a mama. I'm a mama. Some people were wondering why I called it a baby monsoon. It's because most people have baby showers, but it rained really hard because I have a baby. It's like it's a monsoons baby. I have a monsoons. Gender reveal. Monsoons.
You guys are recording Below Deck Med after this, I think, for your recap. I watch it every week. And how long are we going to get fooled into it's hard to park a boat? That's the big drama every week. It's like, throw the lines out. Throw the lines out.
Bravo's very smart, because we've been asking that question for years. I mean, the whole audience has been asking that question for years, right? Like, how many times are we going to fall for this? And then came along Below Deck Down Under, where the guy just kept crashing into the dock. Well, Jason crashed into one dock, right, Ben? And then sailing, he crashed too. So then they showed us some actual crashes. So now we're a little more scared. So now it matters on things like Below Deck Med, because you don't want to see Sandy crash a boat. You know what I mean?
I know. I 100% want to see Sandy crash a boat. I 100% would love that. She would lose her shit.
She would.
I really thought this was going to be the week where they were going to be boxed in. I was like, okay, they're boxed in. I see it. I see it with my own eyes. Sure, they could pivot the boat that way and maybe squeeze out, but I think they're boxed in. I think this time I'm not fooled. And like, sure enough, I was fooled.
Oh my
They
God.
got
And
out.
that's always like
They got out.
the chef is always like on the verge of getting fired, like always on the verge of getting, I'm like, how hard is it? I mean, like, I know the chef is an artistry. I've watched The Bear, but like, my God, it seems like it's so like every week, every chef on this show is up to be fired.
Yeah, well, because they're always a disaster. And like, I really like Jono as a person, and it looks like he makes really good food. Like, if you went to his house, he puts out a great spread. He does a good dinner party, whatever. But like, I just don't know if his shit is like up to the standards that they speak about on a super yacht. Like his plating is very 1987. He'll do like
The
big,
blood
very
splatter on the steak, the blood
it's
splatter.
just like everything is it's just not quite right. And honestly, that deconstructed chocolate cake, which was not deconstructed, it was just a chocolate cake that was torn apart. I've never been able to get over that.
Yeah, I mean, you're a chef yourself, so like it's got to be interesting for you to watch. But I talked to Trishelle a couple weeks ago, and she was just on Below Deck, and she was saying, "Oh, the chef was really nice, but even the steak, like we could have cooked that steak." Like she was being nice about it, but she was saying like, "Yeah, it just wasn't really up to par." And I thought that was fascinating to have a chef that is potentially not up to par for television.
Well, and they've got enough going on that it doesn't even matter, because normally that's what they count on. I think they get kind of mediocre or crazy people. Remember when they got that Russian chick who was just like cosplaying as a chef, and she kept putting out like insane things until they fucking finally. It took them forever to fire that girl. Really.
Was it the nachos? Like the crazy
the nachos?
Yeah.
It took them forever considering how vile she was, you know what I mean? And they rely on that. And I think part of it is because Below Deck is a discount cruise where there's cameras everywhere. So it's not all really rich people. It's people who are like, we can get a discount. It's a mix between thirsty and kind of poor. And so they're going to complain more than normal. So I think the producers are like, when is it bad enough to really get rid of a chef? Because some of this is just like Chili's people finally getting to be in fine dining where everybody finally has something to say, like, this bread isn't crispy enough. You know what I mean? Like when when your family finally goes to that steak restaurant once a year and your mom's like, can I speak with a manager?
Well, also like
Aisha softened to my liking. So
Aisha was telling us, because we had her on recently. And
you just had Aisha on a couple weeks ago. Yeah,
and she was saying like the norm is that for a real life yacht charter, it's going to be like a week or two, and so you don't have to come up with a new set of menus and new preferences and all that like every 2 days. And I think that like going on to Below Deck is really, really hard. I don't think you have the same support systems as you do on like a normal yacht charter. So I can imagine some chefs are like, I don't want to go on there and look like a bad chef when I know I'm really adept. It's just that I'm going to be on reality TV and they're going to like stack the odds against me and make me look like a bad chef. So they probably find more mid-pack chefs that are willing to do it. That's my suspicion.
Well, you guys need to go on there with like a bunch of content creators like Danny and Reality Gaze and Kate and like you guys. I mean, a 3-day with like you guys on Below Deck. Would you ever consider doing that?
No.
Well, you know what? Kate Casey, by the way, Kate Casey was so wasted at the Crappies, and she came on stage with you, if you remember. Oh. And so I think she really paved her way to being on Below Deck as a guest.
Bet you guys. So like Kate is always like so like even keeled, like, or she'll like kind of text something snarky to me or something. And then I realized I'm like, oh, Kate's wasted. I've never seen Kate wasted. And she was like, you ready to do this? Let's go. She's like, I got it. I got the audience in the palm of my hand. And I've never, I was like walking out going like, oh shit. Like Kate's like hammered.
It was so funny. She had lipstick all over her face and she's like, I just got back from a frat party. I just came from a frat party. I was doing shots with kids. I was like, yes, Kate, living your best life. That's how to do it.
She was wasted. She was on her feet. She was screaming at the audience. It was just the rawest version of Kate Casey.
It was like Hotel California for podcasting. I was like, yes, Kate, living that heroin life, that heroin chic life.
It was Ozzy Osbourne biting the head off a bat. Like that's what it was. It will be talked about for years to come. Okay, we're wrapping up here. Also, we were at the same Taylor Swift show in Sweden, or Stockholm. That was an amazing show. What did you guys think?
Were you at the same night that we were there?
Yeah, I was trying
the
to
same
find
night. You guys were just on the opposite. You were on the opposite side, so like I didn't want to miss
like a city.
That's so bizarre.
It was like a city.
What are the odds that
I
Why?
know.
Okay, so why were you there? Because I know why we were there, and it barely made sense why we were there. But why were you there?
My best friend and his husband invited us. Like, my mom got really sick and she passed away, and I was supposed to go to Taylor last year when she was in America. And then my buddy and his husband, they were like, "Hey, you guys want to come with us to see Taylor in Stockholm? We got like a ticket. We got really good seats, and it's really less expensive than seeing it in America." And I was like, "Yeah, let's go do that." So we got to do that in Amsterdam, and we liked that Taylor Swift show so much that we got on StubHub and we got tickets for the next night, and they were so cheap compared to America, and it was awesome.
My friend who came with us, she got tickets for the next night for $400 to be up in the pit. I was like,
dude, Ben, $350 on the floor.
Exact wild. Well, it's so hilarious that we were all there. We were there because we had a London show coming up, and so we were going to spend the week in London. And I was telling Ronnie, I was feeling FOMO because I never saw the Eras tour, and I was feeling like I'm not a Swiftie necessarily, but I felt like this was such a big cultural event, and I've been going to so many nostalgia shows. Like, let's see Alanis Morissette doing her 25-year anniversary of Jagged Little Pill, or here
I just saw Sarah McLachlan do like the 30th anniversary of Fumbling Towards Ecstasy.
Oh my god, my friends and I were talking about maybe trying to see that in Quebec. As like,
it was great. It was great.
I do want to see that, but the point is this: I was like, I want to. These nostalgia tours are great, but I want to see something that's actually like relevant to pop culture. I don't want to look back in 30 years and say, I wonder what it would have been like to go to that famous concert. So I told Ronnie, I was like, well, I know we're going to be in Europe. Do you want to go to the Eras tour? And Ronnie's like, sure. And we wound up just making a pit stop in Stockholm first.
Well, I mean, it was anyway. It was an amazing experience, and I'm really glad I had.
I mean, she was fine and everything, but let me tell you the most impressive thing about that concert in Sweden: the snack lines were empty. I walked up to the snack line 3 times, and I got right up there and got my Diet Coke and my M&Ms and got to go sit right back. I just kept going because I could. I was like, what the hell kind of concession is this? I think because they're like, oh, gross, you don't need all these snacks. But I was like, I fucking do. And now that the snack line is open, I'm going to go see everybody there. I'm just waiting for Patti LuPone to play that stadium. I'll be there.
They know how to do lines in Sweden. I don't know if you noticed this, Ryan, but like when we got there was a mass of people outside the stadium. We're like, oh my God, it's going to take 45 minutes.
Easy to get in.
Everyone stands in line and just goes in orderly, and everyone has their stuff ready, and then we just go in. And I was like, oh my God, I love the Swedish people.
Yeah. I mean, and then we went to the ABBA Museum like the day of, and that was amazing. And it was, I don't know, what a great trip. Anyways, Ronnie, you live in Los Angeles now, so I hope you're enjoying LA and all its craziness. And good luck as we watch you grow older in Los Angeles. But
started happening at the beginning of this podcast. So
thank you guys so much. You know how much you mean to me and to all of us. Also, I wanted to point out you guys were voted #1 podcast by iHeart at the awards. You had heavy hitters like Shannon Sharp, all of these podcasters people, and you guys won. And it was so hysterical watching you come up to the stage in front of all of these people, and it was so damn well deserved. I was talking to Paul Scheer a couple months ago, and we were talking about that. It was so cool. Was that the weirdest night of your life to be appreciated for 12 years of work and to show all of these people how it's done? I know that last line was cheesy.
That was show all these people outside. We're like, and now.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just got to be a shocking moment. All of these people.
It was really, really cool. And we've been nominated for stuff, but we've never even thought that there was a chance, and we never have one, but we were like, well, let's just go check it out. Let's go see what this is like. And it is an alternate universe because there are all these podcasts that we've heard of, that we've listened to, that we've seen. No one knows each other because no one listens to it. You know this. Nobody listens to each other's podcasts. We're all busy talking, So actually seeing all these people and seeing how famous these people are. I mean, they have makeup teams and teams following them around and doing their hair and making sure they look good for Instagram. We're like, what world is this that podcasts have? To me, it was just going into an alternate universe that we're kind of a part of, but it's just it's in such kind of a lonely little world here. We're all in our little pods, literally, and figuratively doing this. And so it was crazy seeing how everybody else does it and meeting so many different people. And it was really cool. It was
amazing. To me, it was a career highlight, because I've always felt like we're this outsider podcast and people don't take us seriously because we're just, we recap, Bravo, and then like where these other podcasts or like these hipster podcasts get all like this attention.
Yeah.
And it's a real, it's a chip on my shoulder based on whatever childhood trauma, whatever, because you should just be happy to be doing the podcast. Who needs recognition? Yada, yada, yada. I understand. I'm in therapy. But the other thing is that but it was so nice to actually get this recognition. And it was cool to be in that room because like Ronnie said, there were these like celebrities there. Like we accepted our award, we got off the stage, and I looked back on the stage and they're like, and now please welcome Kyle MacLachlan. And like Kyle MacLachlan comes walking. I'm like, that's Kyle MacLachlan from like Twin Peaks. Yeah. And I'm like, it's crazy. And Shannon Sharp has one of the biggest, shows out right now. And he was standing right with us. And it was cool to be in the room. And it was also cool. It was really, for me, meaningful to not have to be in a room in a party and have to kind of feel like I had to explain why I was there. It was nice to be just like part of this experience and to be acknowledged, and it was great. I loved it.
Yeah, it was one of the. I was smiling like Jerry Maguire at the end of the movie. I was like, yeah. I was watching the clip and I was like, yes. Anyways. Ben Mandelker, Ronnie Karam, watch what Crappens. They're on 20 nights a week. You can subscribe, and I know you already have. You can get the video, the Patreon, all of this stuff. And I'm not joking. Go sign up for Ben Mandelker's Substack. I just signed up for it, and we are cooking figs and whipped cream cheese.
Oh, thanks,
so I think
Ryan.
that is something that you guys, I know there's a lot of chefs out there, really go sign up for it because there's a
chef,
string of recipes. No, I know, but just a cook. It's a hobby that I think is really cool. So thank you guys for your inspiration and for being so generous with all of us. And hopefully I'll talk to you again in a couple of years.
You're the best. Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.